What's up, squad? It's Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, I thought I'd touch on a topic of there's nearing peace talks between Israel and Gaza right now. And to me, I don't think it's a surprise. I think what's going on, the travesty that is going on, has gone on long enough, I think, for many sensible people. And President-elect Trump, President Trump has already expressed his emphasis on getting things settled down before he comes into office one way or another. And I think that energy really provides shield for both sides, Hamas and Israel. When this happened, who knows what Hamas' initial urgings were? Maybe it was just a blatant terror attack and they just wanted to do what terrorists do and put in some unease. They felt as though it was an opportunity and they attacked Israel on October 7th. Or whatever reason, Israel definitely wanted to give a powerful blow to Hamas, especially in Gaza. Um, in hindsight, as things come to a peace, I do think Israel wants to get back to some sense of defense. I think Israel has learned best. Its strongest position is as counter puncher, right? People come in, attack them, or if they're threatened, they perform a counterattack, which allows them to be overly aggressive, but not to the point that it looks like they're being offensive. And then this is where public opinion starts to turn against them. And that's all subjective. But I think that's what they were trying to do. They said, all right, this is our counterattack, but they've been there long enough. And this gives them an opportunity. Trump saying he wants this stuff to die down. It gives them an opportunity to kind of pull back, say, look, we don't want this to get more messy. We want to maintain friendly relations. So basically, what I'm thinking is Donald Trump giving everybody a way to save face. It's really politically astute, and it's the best thing to do. And of course, I imagine Hamas wants some type of stability for the Palestinian people and living under this constant barrage of attack, right? Nobody will want that for their community. And so, all that being said, I thought it'd be a great opportunity just to look back at some things, keynotes, and a few takeaways. Now that it seems as though we're on the eve of some type of reconciliation. And when this word set out, and this is where I go back to Israel being a counterpuncher, right? I don't think Israel has technically annexed any more land. I've been very surprised, especially when I look back in history in the 6 Day War. Like, a lot of people talk about Israel wants expansion, but when you look at Israel and the amount of wars they've been in, the amount of land they've had under their control at one point of view, they've been relatively restrained in their geographic expansion up to now, and they prefer to be tightly held in their borders. So when they expand, I know they have the settlements. These are very incremental expansions, if that. And but they really prefer the tight, secure, efficient security state that's constantly under their control, that they can constantly protect, as opposed to on this rampage to seek out a living strong, some type of of space for their people at this stage of the game. So even now, I do think they're doing a lot of things besides the war in Gaza. They're probably setting up infrastructure, they're probably disrupting infrastructure and for Hamas while implementing infrastructure that would help aid them when this is all over to deal with this more efficiently and quickly in the future. I don't really think there could be a peace with these two sides. I think it's too much bad blood. All goodwill has been destroyed. This is not going to raise a generation of peace loving Palestinians or a generation of peace loving Israelis. if anything, is going to validate their suspicions. And this is whatever it will be. It will be a ceasefire, unfortunately. But what has been proven is that Israel will never want Hamas a weapon, because if Hamas or if Palestine was a state and Hamas was to get democratically elected, they would have full functional use of those weapons. And Hamas, as they've seen, will have no joy, because I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of boogeyman stories about the Israelis' attack on Palestinian land since the 60 October 7th attack. Another thing that really stands out to me that I thought doesn't get a lot of coverage at all, really, is the lack of support Hamas actually received. Now, there's some things going to back channel, of course, but when I look at the X's and O's and who people really put when the chips were down, they pretty much put their money where their mouth is and their lives where their mouth is. It's Syria, right, under Assad, which is no longer, that came at the expense of his regime. People can say they've been trying to get out of for a while now, but Assad is officially out of power in Syria. Also, the Lebanese and Hezbollah has really done as much as they could. You can say Yemen, but I think the whole thing with Yemen was so staged. It was nothing really. And the reason why I'm saying staged, because it was so spectacular, so theatrical, with no hopes or no real way of having an impact. The Yemenis live miles and miles away from the Levant. They're one of the poorer countries in the region. They wasn't planning amphibious landings. They had no way of stopping what was going on. They was just shooting rockets, and it's not like the rockets could actually go to Israel, right? Because the rockets had to go past 3 or 4, 5 other countries just to get to that part of the world. But it was the closing of the Red Sea, all these things, which was completely, I found to be theatrical, meant to be inflammatory, to embolden or to impassion one side or another, whoever you feel that may be. The Israeli side would say, "Oh, Yemen is going to attack us. We need more weapons. We need more money." And the Palestinian side would say, "Our Yemeni brothers are with us. Let's fight harder." So it could have went either way. But the real players that actually mattered, they were right there next door. They had the resources. I feel as though Iran was feckless. I told you, one of the worst things, and this is going to be vindicated through history, is the fall of Shah Pahlavi. Iran has no idea how far. I think some people do, obviously, but I think historians yet have not fully embraced how far Iran was on a trajectory to go, as opposed to when that revolution occurred and it became the Islamic State of Iran that we see today. The regression between where it was going and where it is today is absolutely horrid. It's one of the great tragedies in history, actually, because Iran had so much potential, but the powers to be, whoever they may be, made sure that Iran did not realize that potential. That is only my opinion. I wasn't in a room where it happened, as they say. So Iran is completely feckless. I always say that about Iran. And they're feckless to a detrimental degree, I mind you. And outside of a few drones. But even that has its limitations. So you have that situation. And then Egypt. And this is what really got me, right? Is the Arabic brothers, your Saudi Arabia, your Egypt with over 100 million, the largest Arabic population in the world, country with the largest Arabic population, right next door, doesn't bust a grape, doesn't protest whatsoever. You have Saudi Arabia, filthy rich Saudi Arabia, filthy rich UAE, no interest whatsoever to put on any pressure to bring peace to their Palestinian Arab brothers in the Levant. And I found that to be really, really interesting. Really, really interesting because it makes me question like who really are these Palestinians and who is Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, so that they found no sympathies with each other. Sometimes I sit up here and I talk about how Africa, I see some of the wayward things I see in parts of Africa and how unfortunate it is. But one thing I will always give Africa credit for is its ability, more or less, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, to keep its countries together, keep its people together. And those countries didn't break up after colonialism like many places did, or like they could have. And the Congo is still in one piece. Angola is still in one piece. Um, a lot of these countries maintain, even South Africa is still in one piece. So they kept the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of their country. And when the white South African racist apartheid regime ruled in South Africa, the Bantus gave them hell. Whether you're talking about in Angola, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, all throughout the bush, anywhere they could, they gave the apartheid government, the racist apartheid government, the white apartheid government in South Africa hell. And it was very critical to bringing that force on them. They wasn't going to sit around and let what they saw as Europeans killed their African brothers in cold blood and oppressed them. And they had a sort of missionary zeal about it. So you don't see that in the Middle East. Of all the suffering that's going on, I can't recollect any strong urging by the powerful Arab states to have this stop. So, and I think it's real interesting when all this is to see who really put their money where their mouth is, who really protested, who really tried to bring it into this. And unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to shape up to be Donald Trump. He has spoke the most vehemently about ending this and saying so in a way to drive results. So, we all hope for the best. We all hope for peace in the Middle East, for lack of better phrasing. But I think it's going to be a tough hill to climb. And it's really going to be interesting on what the world is going to look like after this. Because so much goodwill has been lost between both sides after October 7 that Israel is not going to want to concede anything because they're not going to want to put themselves in a vulnerable position. And this has probably just made the Palestinian side even more zealous than they were before. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. Comment below. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Also, if I'm missing any topics, let me know if there's anything out there interesting that you'd like me to chime in on or give my thoughts about my band 2 cents. I'd love to do so as well. Just hit me up in the comments and let me know. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.